All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still the press coming to you live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN Television. And this is also a reminder that our phone lines are open for you to call and join the conversation. And now we'll be joined by a guest. His name is Uthman Isa-Tochukwu, and he is a legal practitioner. Together, we shall be taking a look at the headlines we read out to you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me, Sandra.
It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we have lots of interesting headlines on our national dailies, but let's begin with the suit challenging the Naira swap, the suit between the Supreme Court, CBN, and some governors. And this headline says major setback for vote buyers as Supreme Court fixes March 3rd for judgment. Now, I want to believe that the CBN is a sole body on its own, and then the governors dragging the CBN to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court's ruling. There's another headline that says that the Supreme Court says the old Naira note remains a legal tender. So what are your thoughts on all of these issues going back and forth with the Supreme Court, the CBN, and the three governors that took the CBN to court?
Thank you very much for having me. I think to start with, it is important for us to understand the nitty-gritty and the legal aspect that has prolonged this issue up to this time. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, is the apex court in Nigeria. Once they take a position on a matter, every other persons are supposed to to stand by pending the determination of whatever the Supreme Court has spoken on. That being said, the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court are two.
Okay. Two
major jurisdictions of the Supreme Court. Number one is appellate jurisdiction, in accordance with section 233 sub 1 of the 1999 Constitution, and number two is original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, as provided under section 232 sub 1 of the 1999 Constitution. Now, what is appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court? Appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is where matters have been heard from the court below. High Court, move from High Court to Court of Appeal, and from Court of Appeal up to the Supreme Court. At that point, the Supreme Court will assume its appellate jurisdiction. Okay. And then when you talk about the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, is where matters are between the federal government, i.e. federation, and the state, or between the states. The Supreme Court will assume its original jurisdiction. Now, if we bring it down to the matter in question, the question you ask, there is no matter between the CBN and the state or the state governors. Matters are between the federal government and the state governors. Right? And then if you look at the explanation I had given you initially, you would understand that federal government and the state are the parties. So that being the parties, the Supreme Court have assumed their original jurisdiction to entertain the matter, because what confers jurisdiction on a court are two things: the pleadings and the relief sought from the court. What prayers, what do you want the court to do for you? These are issues that confer jurisdiction on the Supreme Court. Now, what they took to court was motion ex parte, and the parties on that, the face of that paper, the face of the motion, was federal government against the state. That automatically confers jurisdiction on the Supreme Court to take a position on the matter. Now, the question is whether or not, assuming without considering that the Supreme Court jurisdiction is doubtful or questionable, as the case may be, so long as the court has given an interim order relying on the motion paper before it, every party are expected to stay status quo ante pending the determination of that suit. So regardless of whether the CBN or federal government was happy or were happy with the decisions of the court pending the determination of the motion on notice, they are supposed to remain abiding to the order of the Supreme Court, including the official statement that was made by the president. That official statement was supposed to be in compliance
with the Supreme Court,
order. I.e., keep using the
old notes,
including the 500 and 1,000 naira, pending the determination of that motion on notice before the court. That is what should be obtainable in this instance.
Okay, so it's not.
At this
point,
well,
that's the issue. The president should be cited for contempt. Because once the Supreme Court has said, do this, you must have to comply. You cannot, you see, there is tripartite system in a federal system of government. We are talking about the three arms of government, i.e. the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And this tripartite system, have their independent operations, as well as separation of powers, which confers them the opportunity and right to act as checks and balances to each other. Now, the judiciary as an institution or as an arm of government, they are the custodian of the law. Office of the president does not create itself. Office of the president is created by the law. And those who interpret those laws are the judiciary. So you cannot, as the president of this country, give a separate statement that is in conflict with an existing order of court. It is very sad for our democracy, honestly, and we shouldn't be encouraging this. I'm a lawyer, and I will not be here to tell you that the president was right.
All right.
To make that official statement against the order of court.
So what happens now that some state governors have told their citizens to go ahead and continue to spend the old notes, while the federal government made it known that those old notes are no longer legal tender in Nigeria?
Then again, it's a very serious dilemma that we have found ourselves, because if you look at the issue relating to Naira redesign and usage, it does not rest on the state governors. It rests on the president. If you look at all the financial institutions, the central banks, all the commercial banks, it is not within the control of the state governors. You cannot direct as a state governor. It is more or less like issuing a directive that is not practically possible. For example, if you are in Kaduna today and you want to comply with the order of the governor, and somebody you are giving the note has refused it, what would you do? The banks will not accept it because they will have to obey the directive from the CBN. They have to also obey the directive from the CBN has to also obey the directive from the president, right? And then the governor will be seated there right in his office, directing the citizens to begin to collect the old. So it's a conundrum, and this is as a result of the mess we have found ourselves. If the president had complied with the order of court on the interim, because the truth on this whole matter is that the Supreme Court had not even decided on the substantive issue. The main issue that was brought before the Supreme Court on this Naira redesign policy had not been decided. They only say stay status quo ante pending when we decide the matter. So what is difficult about it? So the truth is that the governors directing their citizens to continue using this money, it's very difficult for them to achieve such directive. The best thing they can do is sit to run back to the court and seek for the court to direct the president to comply to the order. Otherwise, it will not be possible for you to say this money should continue to be in circulation in your state when the institution that is meant to receive this money are fully and wholly under the control of the federal government.
Okay, so I want to ask, I'm sorry to cut you short. So I want to ask a question. You also made mention of the Supreme Court being the highest court, and the federal government answers to the Supreme Court. But then Buhari has refused to answer to the Supreme Court. Is it possible that the orders of the president can be overruled and everybody decides to obey the Supreme Court?
The question is which one came first between the official statement that was made by the president and that of the order of court. Which one came first? So if you look at it, the official statement that was made by the president came after the order had been made. So in an ideal situation, right, the court should incite the president for contempt through the office of the Attorney General, because the Attorney General has the responsibility
Okay.
To advise the president as the chief law officer of the country. You have the responsibility to advise the president, to comply to the order of court. So that is just it. You do not expect that the people should deviate from the order of court and then comply with the official statement of the president. That would not set a very good precedent for our democracy and rule of law. The president went outside the rule of law, and that is sad.
All right. There's something that I remembered seeing. A reporter actually remembered seeing after the court order. I think some lawyers actually went to court to file some suit, and their own notes were not collected from them in court. So isn't that some sort of contradictory thing, especially knowing that the Supreme Court has given an order? So it's not expected that even the court's supposed to take the old notes from them.
You see, and then again, that brings us to another cycle. The matter had just been adjourned to March or so.
March 3rd.
Now, I would now ask, what will the federal government go back to court on the 3rd of March to do? You had already preempted the court by following the order of Mr. President to use the 200 Naira notes and shun 500 and 1,000. What are you going back to court on March 3rd to do? Can you see the problem right now? So it's actually a very difficult situation that we find ourselves, and it is very sad that a country who claims to practice democracy, who claims to have laws and institutions, right, that have their various responsibilities in accordance to law, are not complying to the order of court, is going to take us back to anarchy, and that is a very sad development.
You think this could lead to anarchy?
It has already led to anarchy. What else do you define as anarchy? Anarchy is a place where a situation where laws are not being complied to, whether it leads to physical crisis or social or economic crisis. Are we not in economic crisis currently? In Kaduna, some people have been, the governor ordered that the new Naira, the old Naira should continue to exist. In Abuja, the old Naira is not in existence. In some other states, is in existence. What else you define as anarchy? That's anarchy. It has led us into a serious economic crisis.
So who's to be blamed? Who should be held in account?
And the institution should be held accountable.
And I want to also add
and with all due respect to Mr. President, he should be held accountable, because it is that official statement that he issued that brought us to this problem. If he had issued that statement in consonance with the order of court, everything would have flowed.
But okay, sorry to cut short, but then it's going to go against everything that was set in place before the redesign of the new Naira, which is one, I'm going to use the top of the list, curbing vote buying. So I think that's why the president is still standing on his ground, and I don't know if there's a misconnection of information between the presidency and the Supreme Court.
Look, you need to understand this. The fact is, whether the policy was made to curb vote buying or whether the policy was made for another purpose, the crux of the matter is that the governors had gone to court, joined federal government in the suit, and asked the court to determine whether or not Nigerians are not suffering, and asked the court and pray the court to grant them the latitude to continue using this Naira to some extent until the old Naira phases out. And the court on the interim, because the court did not hear the matter substantially, the court said, this matter you brought before me, let it wait. Let it wait until you determine the matter, right? On the face of your motion ex parte, we will grant you this prayer that old Naira should be in existence pending when we look at the real issue that you brought before us. That was the cause of the matter. Issues of saying it will defeat the essence of the policy and all of that has not come to play. What we're looking at is what took them to court and what prayers have they sought for court to do for them. Do you understand? And when those prayers were granted by the court on the interim, it is expected that all parties should stay status quo, pending the determination of the main issue. And that is where the issue had, arose. It is that issue that were being contended. Before the Mr. President issued that official statement, court had already taken a decision on the matter, and we had expected that the presidential statement would run in consonance with the order of courts, but it's on the contrary, and that's why we're here.
All right. Another question I'd love to ask is, first of all, is the court supposed to take in this kind of case, knowing that it's constitutional for you to change your currency from time to time? Is the court supposed to now come in this, in this kind of situation? And another thing is, why would they, change the date to after the election instead of an hearing that should have, happened yesterday?
I want you to understand that this matter is still pending before the court, and there are some limitations to what we can discuss as far as the matter is concerned, so that it will not amount to sub judice, and I will not be held responsible being a legal practitioner. The court, as an institution of government and as the custodian of the law, has the duty to entertain any matter that comes before it. No matter how you think or how you feel that matter is, it appears to be, it doesn't matter to the court. As far as the court is concerned, its duty is to entertain matters that is being brought by parties before it, and then adjudicate on those matters and deliver judgment based on the merit and fact that is presented before it. So the question of whether or not the court were supposed to take the matter does not even arise. So long as parties have approached court will determine the matter. And the court has not even taken the suit. The court has not taken the suit. The court has not determined the matter yet. It is the determination of the suit that the court is adjourning up to March 3rd to take the matter substantially. The court has not taken the matter. They've not heard it. And that's why there's a limit to what we can comment on this issue, since it's still pending before the court.
All right. There's a line from this headline on The Guardian this morning that says, "We are overburdened. Something needs to be done on Nigeria's constitution," and that says judges are lamenting. Now, what issues do you cite that are in the constitution that you think something needs to be done about? Taking into consideration that the judges are saying they are overburdened, what do you?
The Supreme Court justices?
Yes.
It's no longer a new thing that the Supreme Court is overburdened. Like now, you cannot get a date in Supreme Court for 2025. This is 2023, 2024, 2025. You cannot get a date for the next 2 years in Supreme Court. That is the extent at which the court is being burdened, and the truth is that we just have only one Supreme Court in Nigeria, and matter that goes to the Supreme Court, sometimes trivial matters like you slap me, I slap you, and then you continue to drag the issue up to the Supreme Court. Some of these matters should not get to the Supreme Court. Right? We should expect that the constitution should be adjusted in a way that would allow for the 6 geopolitical zones to have their respective Supreme Court, right? So that it can reduce the burden the only Supreme Court in the land suffers. One Supreme Court cannot serve over 200 million people in Nigeria. So what is expected, and also the kind of matter that should go to the Supreme Court should also be limited. Some matter should end at appeal, and some matter should also die at the High Court, not up to the Supreme Court where 2 people are fighting, you slap me, I slap you, and then you drag the matter up to the Supreme Court and start wasting the time of court over on serious issues. So some of these issues are really constitutional issues that should be addressed, to say now the Supreme Court is one Supreme Court with about 21 justices, we should make it in a way that will have 6 Supreme Court to serve 6 geopolitical zones. And at least in those 6 Supreme Court, we should have 21 justices of the Supreme Court. And then in those 21 justices of the Supreme Court, we should also have a specific matters that should come to the Supreme Court for determination. I think with that, it will reduce the burden that the Supreme Court faces. But again, it has to also deal with adjusting and looking at the Constitution and making some amendment that has to deal with the Supreme Court. You need a synergy between the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive to do that.
We have callers on the line. Let's take this call before we continue our conversation. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the press.
Yeah, Ikara calling from Calabar.
Good morning, thank you so much. Please go ahead and make your contributions.
Okay. I want to ask your guests in the studios right now. The government, Central Bank of Nigeria gave deadline for the return of all Naira notes up to January 31st, and at the end of that, people protested as dam was not enough, and then they extended it to February 10th. Now, who now is to pay? If some people still have this note in their homes and they are still asking that use, does Central Bank don't have the power to change our currency? So which one now comes first? Is it the case that has been taken by Erba and his cohort to the court, or the Central Bank order that the whole currency ceases to be a legal tender in Nigeria? Which one comes first? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
He has had a very good question. And the truth is that, just like I have started saying that it's a conundrum that we found ourselves, and this should not be happening in a country that has laws. The question of which one should come first in this instance, the answer is the order of court should come first. Whether the CBN is telling Nigerians not to use the old currency till so date, it does not exist. We are not aware of that. What we know is the court order, and everybody is bound by the order of court. The court has said continue to use this money pending the determination of the substantive suits, pending the determination of the motion on notice, and that is the order that we know. What the CBN is doing and what the president had done, with all due respect, is going to the contrary and is against the order of court. But what Nigeria should know is that the order of court continue to exist until that motion is determined.
Okay.
What we're saying is that the order of court said until March 3rd. That adjournment continues until March 3rd. That money should be in existence and continue to be legal tender until March 3rd. When that particular motion is going to be taken. The order of CBN and that of Mr. President, with all due respect, is in contravention of the order of court. All
right, let's take another call and continue our conversation. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the press.
Yeah, my name is Uthman, calling from Abuja.
Thank you, Dame, for joining us on the program. Please go ahead and make your contribution.
All right, my question to the legal practitioner in the studio is
please go ahead, right. I can hear you.
Are you there?
If he said, he told us that you cannot get a date from the Supreme Court, not until 2025. But now, how did El-Rufai and the other governors got their date? But a second hearing, and now they are getting a third date. That's still in 2023. So when we come out to make statements, does it really matter if the people fighting are fighting for the masses, or they are fighting for themselves? And from his statement, I don't want to put judgment in front of him, but from his statement, it is already clear that the Supreme Court can prioritize some people ahead of. There are so many cases in the Supreme Court, like he said, you can't even get a date until 2 years from now. So what happened that this one that is not even a life-threatening issue, you have issues that have come and gone, massacres and killing and everything, that they would have approached the Supreme Court to maybe suspend the Constitution to take an action, and they never did it once. Until it came to a point where they were talking about pockets and their money, and suddenly the Supreme Court had a date, had a second hearing, and they are fixing another date just within a period of 1 month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling.
He has a very intelligent question, and I don't think he's a lawyer. He wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be privy. Yes, he wouldn't be privy to understand that by the rules of court, right? There are matters of exigencies.
Okay.
And those matters of exigencies, when they come up, the Supreme Court is bound to take those matters, no matter how busy they are, and that is the situation of the Naira design. Yes.
Okay, but you know, he made a very good reference when he said, for instance, the terrorism and all that.
Who approached the Supreme Court?
To court?
The court is like a sleeping dog. Even him as a citizen, he has the right to approach the court during those times. There is no duty on anybody, whether the governors or anybody at all, as citizens of this country, to say it is your duty to go and approach the court and request for a particular matter. If you feel you want to take it up, you take it up based on public policy, on public interest litigation. You can do that.
Another question would be, the Central Bank of Nigeria, do they have the right to change the Naira or not?
They have the right to change the Naira within their framework, in accordance with the provisions of the CBN Act.
Well, that's what they've actually done.
Good. When you have done that, and then the governors are saying that the policy is affecting their people, the policy is bringing suffering to the citizens of the country, and they feel that the Supreme Court should come and intervene. The Supreme Court alone is not just a court of law, it's a court of public policy. And when you activate the Supreme Court to sit on a matter like this, the Supreme Court is bound to take it regardless of how busy it is, because of the exigency.
It's beginning to sound like we can make a law and we can break it.
Well, the law is meant for human beings, and the reason why the law is made in the first place is because of, you know, the nature of humans, because we are not consistent in our actions. So it is expected that because of that inconsistency of human beings, there are some certain times you go beyond the limit, and the law will bring you back. That is what it is.
Okay, because now I think I understand why the judges said some amendments needs to be made to the Constitution, because I want to believe that maybe in the Constitution of the CBN, it just states that the CBN has the powers to change the Naira note at their convenience, but there wasn't a time specified for the circulation of the new Naira note. Maybe that's why we're having these issues. And what you're trying to say also is that if nobody ever mentioned this to the Supreme Court, it would have just gone like that.
It would have just gone.
Okay, we'll have a caller on the line. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the program. Hello, please go ahead and make it. Hello,
You need
good
to turn
morning.
down the volume of your TV set.
Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
We can hear
I
you.
beg you, my name is Mike.
Okay.
I am calling from Lagos.
Okay.
That lawyer there, where is this governor when the students at home for 8 good months? Where are they? What are they fighting for?
All right.
Ask him like that.
I'm sure you already.
I hope that the audience are taking this thing personal, because I'm not really brief for the governors.
Let's take more
All
calls
right. Good
before
morning,
we come
and
on.
thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
Hello.
We
Good
can hear you.
morning.
Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
All right. Okay. Please, I'm coming from
Please turn down the volume of your TV set so we can hear you.
Or step away from it. That's better. We can hear you, but you need to step away from your
Hello,
TV
good
set.
morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Good morning. I want to ask your guest in the house to sincerely answer this question, please.
Okay.
He said he's a lawyer, right? Please, Mr. Guest in the house, the way you see Nigerian judiciary at the moment, do you see them, as an institution that is serious, that is worthy, to give order that will make anybody, to believe them? Because this Supreme Court that we are talking about is, they are the one that, are they not the one that give a particular senatorial candidate from a particular state who does not contest in primary? So these people should stop ridiculing themselves, so that when a serious matter like this come up, they will be taken serious. Otherwise, they will continue to be, to be as far as concerned. I will say that Nigerian judiciary system is even, they are becoming the tool of oppression that thanks to the media, of recent Nigerian media have been, they have been, resurrecting the hope of the masses. Unlike the judiciary, they are letting us down. So tell yourself the truth. And above all, when we have sample people's opinion, it is very clear that even people who are supporting the policy are larger, they are higher in number than people who are against these things. So who are these governors fighting for? I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for calling.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the program. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and make your contributions. We can hear you. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Good morning. Yeah, I want to contribute a little from what your people say there.
Okay.
I'm calling from Lagos.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much. So if we can understand what is going on in judiciary now, you see.
I think he's listening to his TV set.
Now, Mr. President told them.
Please turn down the volume of your TV set so we can hear you better. Yes.
Yeah, he said he's going to fight against judiciary. So he started fighting against judiciary. Hello?
Hello, good morning. Please, when you call in, do turn down the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you better and you also get to hear us.
The last person
Nigerians have made a
I
lot
don't
of
think he has
cases.
asked a question.
No, he was just trying to make his point.
Yeah, he was being too emotional, and you see, when issues has to do with law, right, it will be very difficult for you to teach to public opinions. We are speaking laws here, and when you speak to law, you just speak based on the fact that is before it. I'm not holding brief for the governors, neither am I holding brief for the courts. I am speaking from the position of my profession and within the facts that were tabled in court. So that's my position. Whatever I've said in this studio is not holding brief for the governors who had gone to court or for the court who has made a decision. What I'm saying is that the Supreme Court, in their capacity as the highest court in the land, has given an order, and the order is binding on everybody, including the president. And that's my position, and will continue to be my position. It will continue to be my position as far as this particular matter is concerned. Everybody is bound by the order of the Supreme Court. And so long as the Supreme Court has taken a position on the matter, it is expected that all institutions that are part and parcel of that particular matter should stay status quo ante pending the determination of the suit.
Well, some persons are thinking that the law is becoming almost regardless.
Well, I cannot say anything about that.
Because that's what one of the callers said when cases are coming up that people that did not even participate in elections are being ruled to, take over the mantle.
Has he read the judgment of the court in that regard? Has he read the judgment of the court? I'm asking you a question. Have you read the judgment of the court?
I'm not mandated to answer your question. I'm meant to ask you questions.
But when you ask me questions and you don't have facts, you should expect that you should have, be privy to those facts so that you would understand the reasoning why the Supreme Court took such position.
Okay. I wanted to ask you if you think Nigerians will wait for that.
That's the problem now. It's not the problem of the court. It's the problem of Nigerians who are not, conversant with the fact that was presented before the court, and then all of a sudden, you just took to the street and begin to. I don't think what you'd expect me as a lawyer to come to this studio and be responding to opinions of the public who are not privy to the fact of the case. That's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
My responsibility is to tell you that this is the fact of the case and this is how the Supreme Court had arrived on the decision they took. That's my responsibility.
All right, we'll have a caller.
You can't be emotional about these things.
Yes, a simple question though, since the caller is not there. A simple question though. Is it possible not to participate in an election and
of course, it's your right. Your right is continue with your questions.
For instance, I don't participate and I come out eventually as a flag bearer based on court judgment.
Well, I do not see that being correct.
Okay.
I do not see that being correct.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So,
sorry to cut you short. I will have lots of callers on the line, but let's take this call before we move on to another headline. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. This is Sandra from Lagos.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah, I was following the program, and I love the program so much.
Thank you.
They say that the court is a last hope of a common man.
Yes.
Yeah, but they are not building the trust and the confidence in the people of this country. So now, they made themselves as a judiciary, nothing before the presidency. That's why you see presidency now regard them as nothing. Because he said that he contested more than 3 times before he won election. He saw and he knows how judiciary manipulated his vote and his results. When he came to office, he said he will fight against judiciary. He started fighting against judiciary, and the people of Nigeria, since the same governors, they stopped him not to fight and not to resolve the judiciary. Now, when you see what happened in Imo State, you saw what happened in Adamawa, in Akwa Ibom State, former governor of Akwa Ibom, Senator Abakio, who never participated in the primaries, and later got victory from the Supreme Court. Even the senator, who never participated in the primaries, he got the victory. So you don't have, president doesn't have any confidence in the judiciary.
All right, thank you so much. I think we'll have to let you go now.
If they are fighting or they are making any impact, they have to.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, they have to make themselves. They have to make themselves so that people of Nigeria will have confidence.
All right, we'll have to let him go there.
Some of these things, okay, our time is up, but I really need to make this quick comment. Some of these things, right, it has to deal with the law. It is very difficult for you not being a lawyer, to understand how the court operates.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
I think that's what I go home with.
Of course,
if you don't, what you don't know, you don't know.
absolutely.
All right, with that, we draw the curtain today on the press, coming to you live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN Television. Till we'll come your way tomorrow. I am Sandra Ago.
And I am Alhassan Olamide. Do enjoy the rest of your day.